Welcome to the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today I have Bernina Gray with me. We previously recorded an episode and then technology just was not my friend and half of it didn't save. So she was gracious enough to come on here and give me some of her time again to share her story. So thank you, Bernina, for coming on here with me and for your time. And if I could just have you introduce yourself and then we'll get into the discussion and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. My name is Bernina Gray. I am a Red Running Into the Water clan, born for Tingle People clan. My maternal grandfathers are the Coyote Pass, and my paternal grandfathers are the Comanche. I am from Lukachukai, Arizona. I run my own company called nDigitize. I am a mother of four. I have 14 daughters and one son. He's 6. So I have a full schedule and just happy to be here and share my knowledge with you.
Thank you. So before we get into just talking about your business and some of the other questions that I have, can you just give me kind of your story and your journey of what even led to you starting a business in the first place?
So in 2017, I had been working with a corporate job as an account executive. And let me tell you, I never want to be back there. But I quit that one and I took a year and a half off to take care of my grandmother. She had hip replacement. So I helped her, took care of her, went through physical therapy with her. And during that time, I really had time to reflect and think about what I wanted and go back to my passion for art, especially like design, because my grandmother was a rug weaver. So I really appreciated watching her growing up and seeing all her designs, hearing her comb bang against the warp. It was such a beautiful noise. It kind of sounds like a drum. But eventually I went back to work and I was not happy again. It was with like a little financial institution. And I was using like their software applications. There was so many windows open every day. And I just kept thinking to myself, this process could be so much better, so much more streamlined. And it got me interested in software development. So I found CNM Ingenuity. It's a local boot camp, and I registered for the full stack boot camp. So I quit my job again, spent a few months in the boot camp, and then 2 months later, I landed my first internship with a local nonprofit. I was able to design and build a web application through WordPress, and it was for a volunteer app. So it was for approving and registering volunteers. So when I finished that internship, I was seeking another position. A lot of them required like a bachelor's degree or higher in computer information. And I did not have that. I only have like an AA in business administration. So it was sort of like the last resort to just go into business for myself. So I began freelancing as a web designer, graphic designer. And in 2020, I realized that a lot more people needed my services, especially during the pandemic. Everybody needed to digitize and go online to remain in business. So I incorporated nDigitize. nDigitize is just like a small E. In software development, it's called like camel casing. So it's lowercase and capital D-I-G-I-T-I-Z-E. And really proud of that. And I branded did the branding as well. It was such a good design process, but it represents like a sort of like a contemporary or futuristic arrowhead. But yeah, that's what led me to it. And I still see a lot of challenges, but a lot of growth as well.
Awesome. So just listening to you share that story, a question that popped up for me was, what was it like just quitting your job to pursue a new skill? Was it scary? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it was scary, but growing up like in poverty on the reservation, like I can live with like the bare minimum, you know? So I'm like not picky, and I had a little bit of savings. So I just invested in myself and just bet on myself basically.
That's awesome. So you quit your job, joined the boot camp, learned all these skills, got that internship, and then started freelancing. You started in Digitize. So what exactly is nDigitize? What do you do? What are some of your offerings?
So it's a digital and creative consulting agency. We specialize in web design, branding, UX design, digital marketing, business analytics, and consulting services. Our main mission is to empower Native-owned businesses and entrepreneurs by digitizing their presence and creating technology-driven solutions. We're incorporated in Albuquerque, but we operate fully virtually, partnering with businesses across the US. We've done branding and website projects for people, entrepreneurs as far as Montana, Minnesota. Currently, we have contracts in Oakland and San Diego. So we're pretty much everywhere. Yeah, it's just exciting.
You said you do like logos, branding, websites. You said data analytics as well, correct?
Yeah,
Or
it's more on the business side, business analytics, especially pertaining to strategic alignment and growth.
that's pretty cool. That's a big need for businesses for sure.
Yeah.
So, and you can work with anyone, not just in New Mexico. You're fully virtual, so anyone, anywhere can access your services.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, and I guess I just want to clarify, so you're incorporated out of an LLC, is that correct, or you're sole proprietor?
Yes, we're incorporated as an LLC.
Okay, and then it's a virtual business. So while you were starting your business, and even now as you're just in your business, working, growing it, what are some needs that you have encountered that you found that you needed assistance with? What was that journey like?
I think that planning better would have helped me, especially when it comes to like the marketing piece. Our digital presence is very low, and we just basically get work from like word of mouth. And I plan on growing our social media presence with my daughter as the head of our digital marketing. She's the digital marketing specialist. So hopefully we get that up and running. And then I think bootstrapping as well. So that all goes into the planning aspect too. Using your own money to start a business is not the way you should do it, you know. I think that there's plenty of opportunities and resources out there to help you.
So what are some other challenges that you've encountered as you've been starting your business, and how have you navigated through those challenges?
So a lot of business owners, they're sometimes they're not able to pay for our services. So I have like a whole list of resources that I offer, and I'm like, okay, well, these guys have grants, I don't know if they're seeking loans as well, but yeah, I try to offer them some resources in terms of capital for um, growing their business, especially marketing. I know that as an entrepreneur myself, like we normally don't have like a business budget, or like a marketing budget to market our businesses. And sometimes we don't even pay ourselves. So that would be like a huge barrier as well, just setting aside money for that purpose in general. And um, I think it stems from us not thinking about scalability when we start businesses. I think an important piece of being like an Indigenous entrepreneur is like we don't think of like capitalizing in our business, and growing so big that we make so much money. More or less, we're just trying to get through the month, and make enough money to pay our bills and go through the process the next month. So I think that's one of the huge barriers that we face, and an issue that I come across with other businesses. So I've been able to sort of like cater my products and services to, and we've like implemented payment plans as well. So I understand that most of the entrepreneurs have like day jobs, and they're at work during the week. So I arrange to meet in the evening sometimes, and even on the weekends to meet with them, So I think that that's been pretty successful, in helping people manage the payment for my services. So,
Just being aware of your customers and who you're serving has probably helped you make sure that you're flexible and kind of tailoring your offerings towards them. And I think implementing a payment plan is definitely, it shows that you're keeping the customer in mind. You're not just saying, well, that's what I charge. Like, you're figuring out ways that you can work with people and make it work for them.
yeah,
Um,
I think that's really important because I would have loved to have worked with somebody in that manner too. So, and I feel like I'm very empathetic, and I'm able to utilize that strength and give better service to my clients.
yeah, that's an important skill to have for sure as a business owner. And I think you mentioned this in a previous conversation that we had. Sometimes people, especially when they're working in tech and with software, they're just thinking about the code and the product. They're not thinking about like the user and how it's going to be received by that person. And you mentioned that that's a strength that you have um, in the way you design products, but then also in the way that you run your business.
Yeah, like just listening to customer needs and ultimately the end user. So the end user is more or less like my client's customer, So whoever's going to use our product at the very end, we do UX design services for them so that they get um, the best possible experience using our products.
So how long have you been in business then with nDigitize?
since 2019.
So that's a while.
That's when I started freelancing, but we incorporated in 2020, like August, I think it's August 20, July 2020.
Okay. So what are some like programs and resources that you utilized while you were growing and building your business that helped you move along that process? Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Sure. So I think a huge asset to the Albuquerque community is New Mexico Community Capital. They offer like financial basic business courses or like a short training. And then they also do like a marketing one. Those were very helpful. And I think that more entrepreneurs could benefit from that. They also provide um, just being there as a resource, and I think they also provide well, they're going to be opening a space down there too as well, so that's going to be huge. And then I think a huge resource that I did not utilize was I think it's called Sister Sky. They partner with the SBA, and they offer really good services. I'm probably going to be attending something in September with them, but they're a good resource. And then I've also taken part in the American Indian Policy Institute from ASU. They have a program called like Indigenous Leadership Academy. And that was such a great program to the connections that we made, the networking that we did. I've been able to like learn from peers, like peers, and see what everybody else is doing in the Native community. So I think they're a huge resource as well. And then JTA here in Albuquerque too, they're a huge resource too. I've done some trainings with them, like the business analytics certificate program with UNM. But they're more than willing to help.
And how has this whole just quitting your job, starting your own business, entrepreneurial journey, how has it impacted you as an individual, and how do you think entrepreneurship, or at least that entrepreneurial mindset, could impact other Indigenous people?
So I think being an entrepreneur, you learn so much about yourself, like just pushing yourself, your breaking point, the stress you can handle, the rejections too. Sometimes you just get no's from people, and then learning how to set boundaries and saying no to people too, especially when they don't value your services. And yeah, even boundaries for your family too, as entrepreneurs, native entrepreneurs, your family doesn't understand that you're actually working during the day, even though you're at home or you're somewhere else, and they're just like, hey, can you come do this for me, or can you like go and grab this for me since you're just home? I'm like, no. So yeah, I think that's a huge one. But yeah, I think just learning so much about myself has been a huge thing, just being an entrepreneur, um, and just paying attention to others. Again, that goes back to the empathy thing, but yeah, it's been an eye opener.
I think that's really important. Something that you mentioned, learning how to say no and set those boundaries. I was on another call earlier this week with Sierra Bromwell with Kismet. She's an Indigenous entrepreneur as well, and we're going to interview her next week for the podcast. And she said, you know, sometimes you're told when you're fundraising for your business, like take whatever meetings you can get. And she said that she's learned, like, no, like if a funder or if someone doesn't align with your business and your goals, it's okay to say no. And so when you said that, it reminded me of that conversation that I've had with her, of just the importance of saying no and of keeping those boundaries, not just with family, but in the business world as well. If a partnership or a funder doesn't align with you, and your business and your values, it's important and okay to just say no.
Yeah, I think that's especially important, especially when you're a trailblazer, you know, as Indigenous entrepreneurs, we are those trailblazers, and we've been highly, you know, like extracted from. Our reservations have been extracted from. We've been like we're tired, you know. It's just crazy, but yeah, I think that's an important thing, to make sure that your investors and people that you partner with are in alignment with your values. And yeah, I think that's.
So you've been involved in some other things aside from just nDigitize and growing your business. I know you participated in the Entrepreneurship Economies program, and now you're working with the Advanced New Mexico Fund. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that experience has been like, and maybe how it's complemented what you're doing with your business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So in my application, I did mention what I spoke about earlier when it comes to businesses, and just giving them resources for getting capital or grants. And I think that's what spoke to the Rematriating Economies team, you know, the Vanessa over at Roan Horse Consulting. So I was selected as one of 10 for the first cohort. Also, they're taking applications now, and I think they close on August 30th. But definitely, if you're wanting to go into investing, finance, or social impact investing, I think that's the program for you. But our curriculum was really interesting. I think it was very, I would say that contributed to a lot of my growth as well in learning about myself, because it was very, like, the first thing that we did was do like the trauma of money, and that was very trauma informed approach at just realizing that we have a negative and traumatic past with money, you know. Like I mentioned, our reservations are extracted highly, like our resources. I mean, that's the whole point of establishing our Navajo Nation government, was just to do business with us, but not in a fair way. So I went through the program, and we graduated in December of 2023. And I've made like great connections with my peers in the cohort. And then we've also connected with other social impact investing like organizations. And through that was able to meet Lauren Grattan of Mission Driven Finance. She's a co-founder and chief community officer. She provided me with the opportunity to introduce the Advanced New Mexico Fund and provide business development here in Albuquerque, or across the state, actually. So it's a very great approach at just investing in small businesses, especially for underserved communities and people that have had trouble getting access to capital in the past.
And that access to capital portion is huge. With our tribal liaisons and the discovery that they've been doing, that's across the board. Like, I think every single person that they have interviewed that's one of their needs, as well as the barriers, is just that access to capital, financial literacy. And so us, along with like a bunch of other organizations, are working on helping to just make sure that there is that accessible capital and that education for people to know what types of funding fit best with their business on the stage that their business is at. So I think it's really awesome that you're involved in that, especially as an entrepreneur, because you've navigated the system, you kind of know what that experience is. So working with Advanced New Mexico, hopefully you'll be able to, help amplify the voices of Indigenous entrepreneurs and hopefully improve that access for them. One thing that you mentioned earlier was just about scaling your business, and how a lot of people don't even think about that. A lot of Indigenous business owners and entrepreneurs out there, they're just, doing their thing, and they don't maybe even realize that they're running a business. And it's definitely not on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, like how to scale or how to grow. I think that's slowly starting to change. But in terms of scaling and growing and goals, what are some goals that you have for your business, like in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years? Like, what do you want your business to become? Where do you hope to see yourself growing towards?
I think that there are so many possibilities. I think that the main company that I see myself like emulating is Meta, like the Facebook. They've probably touched every aspect of technology. And I think just using nDigitize as an umbrella for different projects would be feasible. I did submit a solution to MIT Solve. We just made it to the semi-finalist round. But I'm interested in creating a digital payment app, and it'll be built on blockchain to enable smart contracting for probably, well, my goal is to build it for like the Navajo Nation. And we could it's of course a payment app. So the thing that would be closest to it would be like a Venmo. So it'll incorporate a little bit of like social media side, but it'll also allow a platform for artisans and entrepreneurs to upload and share their work. I know a lot of them struggle with intellectual property and copywriting. So I think that that would be a great asset for them, and it would allow them not to have to go and build their own websites as well, which is huge, because I think that changing our services, that's where we would go. And also there's like these passion projects that I have on the side. I really want to work on getting addresses for the Navajo Nation too. And then I go as far as into as like agriculture, creating little co-ops back home and having like a little HelloFresh food distribution for our elders and people that are not having access to food, it's a food desert out there. So I think that just reinvigorating that aspect of planting and having access to fresh foods and not relying so much on like the few grocery stores that we have there. So yeah, those are some of my projects. Other than that, I think just building our own CMS as well, like a content management system, sort of like a Squarespace or Wix. So yeah, I think that is on our to-do list as well.
That's awesome. So you're just gonna be a serial Indigenous entrepreneur, just doing all these different things.
That's the goal.
I love it. I support it. I think just based on the different people that I meet, there's so many Indigenous people and entrepreneurs doing all these amazing things and really, I think working towards a similar goal of like sovereignty and self-sustaining economies. And I see so much alignment between all of you, like Bitty Baby Foods, and then I interviewed Laris Manuelito. She's working on opening up a grocery store in Tohachi. So I might need to introduce you to her because maybe you guys can collaborate on something there. Just all these ideas and you guys really are trailblazers because it's not an easy system to navigate. There's a lot of red tape and just systems in general kind of working against you. But you're doing it and I'm really excited to just see where you're at now. I think the first time I became aware of you as an entrepreneur was about a year ago at the AIBE conference that they had at the Indian Cultural Center, and you were pitching your app idea for the fintech. I was like, this girl's onto something. Like I could see it. You have the idea, and I've kind of followed your journey since then, and I've seen you grow a lot and just expertise and confidence. And it's just awesome. You really are a trailblazer. And I'm so thankful to have you on here to share your story. And hopefully we can just continue to be a support to you as you grow, especially in the tech realm. It's definitely a space that is not as diverse as it should be. And so just hoping we can support you as you grow your nDigitize, however it ends up evolving. One last question I have is if someone is listening to this and they're interested in pursuing entrepreneurship, but maybe they haven't taken the leap or they have started their business and they want to grow, but they just don't know what to do. What's a piece of advice that you would give them, or words of wisdom or encouragement?
I would tell them to learn about themselves first, see where they're at with their relationship with finance, with money, their relationship with their supporters. You need a strong support system when you do become an entrepreneur. And then utilize those resources in the community, because they're there to help, and I think that finding the capital to start your business to begin with will make things so much easier. And going back, just knowing yourself and knowing how you handle finance, that'll be a huge contributor to the success of your company.
That's definitely good advice and something that our triple liaison Zachary event focuses on as well. Is you have to have that mental health. You have to take care of your mental health and kind of work through any traumas or things that you have in relation to money, but then also just in general, before you can even think about starting a business. So I think that is really good advice, and it also kind of affirms what our tribal liaisons have been discovering and reporting to us. So thanks for sharing. Any last thoughts or things that you want to mention while we're on here?
I think that I would just say that when you get past that initial phase of discovering who you are, going back to your true self, that I would say that we're natural entrepreneurs. It's like one of our innate abilities, it goes back to just our way of life. And I think we just need to reinvigorate and indigenize the economy again, especially locally.
Yeah, take back that power, that just that natural instincts and ability that Indigenous peoples have always had. Because if you look at history, there's a whole history of Indigenous innovation, commerce, entrepreneurship. So it's in there, it's in the bloodline, and like you said, it just needs to be reinvigorated. And I think we taken back. And I really like the word indigitize. Is that indigenize? Yeah. Is that what you said?
Yeah. I always say indigenize, and even use it in my business, indigitize, because everybody is always saying like decolonize, but why would we want to decolonize organizations and systems that weren't built for us in the first place, So I think there's a little bit of both that you need to contribute in order to decolonize. You need to indigitize, or not indigitize, sorry, indigenize. But yeah, I think that building anything with Indigenous aspects and perspectives would make things a lot easier on us, So I think it goes back to something I always say too, like just coming from poverty and a reservation. I always think to myself, like, I didn't grow up with that. I didn't have that. And that's how I still think. And I'm like, oh, well, we don't have it. Well, we should make our own, So that's what drives me ultimately, is just making things for ourselves.
I think that's a really good perspective, and just something I think, that maybe people listening can think about, is that indigenizing using those Indigenous values, and that again, the Indigenous innovation mindset and Boardline that it literally runs in the history and in the blood, and just, creating systems and businesses and products of your own. I really like that idea and that concept. So thank you for sharing it with us. And that's exactly what we're about here on the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Podcast, is just amplifying those stories and those entrepreneurs who are trailblazing at the forefront of indigenizing entrepreneurship. So thank you so much for sharing with us and coming on here again after we recorded and then had to re-record. I really appreciate you.
This one might have come out better.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm glad I think we hit all the key things that we talked about last time that I was like, oh, that's such a good point. So thanks again. And if people listening want to find you, want to find your business, or want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram, it's just nDigitize, and then Facebook, nDigitize. There's an email, info@ndigitize.io. I think the IO, you got to keep in mind it's not .com or anything else, it's .io. And we do have a website, although I need to update the case studies on there. So yeah, but also like you can find me in downtown Albuquerque sometimes.
You like to hang out at different coffee shops?
Yeah, I do a lot of coffee shops, and then I do plan on renting out one of the corporate offices downtown too.
That's exciting. That's awesome. Well, yeah, let me know when that happens. I think that's an exciting thing that we would like to update people on, I guess, as you continue on your journey. But I will link everything, all the links, resources, websites in the description section of this podcast episode. And if anyone wants to get in contact with Bernina, you can either reach out to me and I can connect you, or you can go to those links. And so thank you again for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right.
It's good to talk like this. Gives you so many more ideas. Collaborating with people just drives innovation,
Yeah, that storytelling, that sharing, the community building too, I think is important and huge. And that's what we're trying to accomplish with this podcast. So hopefully we're doing a good job.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.